Hi guys, it's Holly here at Faces. Welcome back to the Face It podcast. Today I am here with the lovely Julie from Behind the Mask Training. Julie, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I'm super excited to have this conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Oh, you're more than welcome. So, just to give everyone a little bit of background, I was introduced to Julie about a week ago, maybe even less than, by some amazing practitioners that I think all of them have actually been on my podcast before. Um, because we got into a really quite big discussion on a group chat around domestic violence and menopause and other topics. And someone recommended that Julie does some amazing free online courses around these topics. So I thought, let's get her on the podcast and we can talk about the courses. We can talk about these taboo topics, which absolutely shouldn't be taboo, and how they're going to help practitioners, whether you're an aesthetics practitioner, beautician, hairdresser, tattooist, anyone within this field.
Signs
My
that somebody may experiencing
sign.
domestic abuse, and what to do if somebody discloses to you as well, because we do hear that.
Yeah,
Mm.
perfect. So Julie, do you want to just give us a bit of background first into how you got into this area and what it was that motivated you to do it in the first place?
Yeah, of course. Well, I come from a background where I have personal experience of domestic abuse. I lived through it as a child as well as a young adult. And when I was experiencing it when I was in my early 20s, I was a police officer. And my experience was with a police officer. So it just goes to show that anybody can experience it and anybody can perpetrate it. So, yeah, I've been a police officer for 30 years. I retired 3 years ago. So I've got a load of professional experience under my belt. But for the last 13 years, alongside policing, I also set up a lash business. So I'm a lash artist trainer. So I'm kind of like niche within the beauty industry. And I noticed with a handful of my clients, because you're seeing them, 16, 17, 18 times a year, and you really do get to know people, don't you? And like you say, you feel like a therapist, then you're not really trained as a listening therapist. But you do get people offloading on you, and you do notice when things are a little bit different. So if they're overdressed for the weather, or that clambering onto your couch, not quite as agile as they were, or their demeanor is a little bit different. Or they're constantly taking phone calls and they just have to take that phone call or respond to that message. Or when their partner starts then rocking up with them and is literally asking for receipts to prove where you are. So I was noticing some of these behaviours with my clients, and I was able then to use just a bucket load of policing experience to help me kind of engage with them in a way that didn't make people feel uncomfortable, because you're kind of used to having those conversations. And yeah, all six people who I kind of thought something's really not right here, and I did kind of suspect there were problems at home, and there were, and they just opened up to me and offloaded. And that was the first time they'd actually disclosed that they were having problems. And then I was able to signpost them to support and information that could help them. And for many of them, there was control, there was coercion there. Some of them didn't realize that they were being controlled and coerced to the extent that they were. And when they started offloading, and I started saying, okay, well, there's this, there's that. Have you thought about this? And they suddenly realized, actually, I am trapped. And there's so much that we can do to help people, that there are times when clients then realized actually things are not all well. And it may be that a number of people may be experiencing these things and not really realizing that what's going on isn't right. And the worst thing that anybody can say to somebody who's experiencing is, well, why do you stay? Because that's such a loaded statement. Because believe me, if it was easy, somebody would leave.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on, and everybody's case is very, very different.
Yeah.
So what I experienced will be very different to what many other people have experienced, and there'll be a whole load of complex factors in there. Domestic abuse is very, very complex. A lot of people call it domestic violence, but it goes so much broader than that. It can be financial control, sexual control, control, coercion about where you can go, who you can see. And it's not about us taking on somebody else's problem. It's not our problem to solve. But the fact that people come into our space is often seen as safe. And we get to see, we get to notice, we get to hear things that you think, well, actually, you know what, let's be human about this.
Yeah.
And if I can signpost you to people who'll be better able to support you, And if I can offer you my phone so that you can actually phone people like Women's Aid, so that the number will not come up in your call history. And if you want to have a look at the services they provide, you can have a look at it through, my browser rather than their own, so
Yeah,
that it doesn't come up in their browsing history. Because if somebody is particularly controlling, then there is a chance that they are going through and looking at what people are actually accessing, who they're phoning, who they're calling. So yeah, there's things like that where I was able to help people and thought, you know what, there seems to be a huge gap in our industry. There'll be a lot of people. I'm not the only one that's being told that there's stuff going on. I'm not the only one that must be noticing these things.
yeah,
Or you probably would notice if you knew what to look for. But then again, if you knew what to look for, and if somebody said to you, I've got real big trouble at home, I'm really scared, would you know what to do or say?
exactly.
So
Yeah,
that's why the course was created.
amazing. No, I think there's a couple of things I picked up from what you were saying there. The first thing being how complex domestic abuse is, because I think even myself, when I think of domestic abuse, the words, I think of the physical abuse. I think it's
Yeah.
naturally that's what a lot of people think about. But you're so right. It's so much more complex, and there isn't. I think a lot of people will be going through that through domestic abuse in a more kind of mental way without
Mm.
realizing and just kind of thinking it's the norm, because if they've
Yeah.
been dealing with that for years or whatever at home with their partner, um it does just become the norm, doesn't it? And then it's
Yeah.
I guess you just become numb to it, not in obviously every situation, but I can imagine a lot of people go through it that and they just kind of don't see it as domestic abuse. um
Yeah. And absolutely. And some people think, well, that's our relationship. That's what we do.
yeah,
And yeah, and it's really quite scary.
yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing I picked up was um how as a practitioner or a therapist to take action and be able to support, because I think there's probably going to be a lot of people listening to this who are maybe certain clients are maybe coming to mind. And I think as a practitioner, a lot of people probably feel some kind of guilt because you might notice something, but then you're like, I can't approach that. I don't know how to approach that because I don't want to upset my client.
Mm.
Am I overreacting by thinking this was a bit of a weird sign that they've shown? So there's two sides. There's the client and the practitioner that we need to kind of be more vocal on how both can be supported.
Absolutely. And this is why I created the training. So I didn't just literally do a Julie Knight brain dump. This is the best way to spot the signs, and this is what you can do. I literally, because I network a lot within the police service, for the last 9 years of my service, I was involved in service improvement work. So making sure that the constabulary could deliver the best possible service to our communities. So that meant that I would engage with a lot of different partner agencies and academia as well. So I knew a lot of people to go to. So I approached those people saying, look, I'm not a police officer today. I've got my beauty hat on, and this is what I want to do to create something that is free, that is really small and bite-sized, because people haven't got hours to write off
Yeah,
to embroil themselves into, even no matter how important it is, time is tight. So I just wanted something that was to try and make sense of something very, very complex, but to give people exactly what they need, nothing more, nothing less. But if you wanted to go and learn more, I'll give you some options that you can do at the end of the training. So that's what I did. I spoke to people who have been experiencing it more recently to make sure that the language, the tone resonated with them and didn't sound condescending. I spoke to academia who'd recently done a piece of work with my constabulary at the time, and they had done a lot of hearing survivor voices, and they come up with a program to help families to support those who are experiencing it, because again they were coming at it from a big thing, that the worst thing that the family and friends can do is say you must leave. So that was really, really useful, and that academic from Bristol University said, yeah, by all means use my research, use my findings, use my study. And I also contacted support groups as well to a lot of them did want me to jump on board with what they were doing and signpost people to paid courses. And I said, a lot of people haven't got time to write off X amount of time over X amount of days to do that. What I want to do is, literally do something that's very simple, make it online, make it accessible so you could do it at midnight, and it's only 22 minutes of your time. And all you need to do is log in, listen, and watch 3 short videos. And at the end of it, you get a certificate to say, thank you for taking part, but you also get a downloadable as well, which is a book that explains what you just watched in the video. So all the suggested kind of words that I say, this is how you could start a conversation, as well as access to support groups. That's all in the downloadable. So I've tried to make it as super easy as possible for people to get involved, so that they're empowered to help other people, and that's what it's all about.
Amazing. Honestly, I'm so happy that I was introduced to this, because I know there's going to be so many people watching who will be going straight onto your course and doing it, because it's free, it doesn't take long, and like I just know that so many people will benefit from this, both client and practitioner alike, because during your, I know you work in different industries, particularly beauty and hairdressing, but especially with aesthetics as well, that just like you touched on, the clinic is a safe space. I know when I go to my practitioner, they probably know more about me than my friends and family do. And I don't know what it is. I think it's because when you have a good relationship with your practitioner or beauty therapist or hairdresser, it's just like they're just non-judgmental. And I feel like so many people feel that way, but you don't learn in your training how to deal with these kinds of things, or how to support someone if they are going through domestic abuse or mental health problems. So I imagine a lot of people just feel stuck when they do come
Yeah.
across these issues that their clients maybe talk about.
Totally. And it's very interesting because I say this quite a lot when I coach people as well. So, a lot of people think the avenue into the industries that we do is you take a training course, so you learn how to do what you do.
Yes.
Great. I've taken 40 courses and I'm pretty skilled at doing lashes. But on top of that, you need to understand how to run a business. So you've got those business skills that you need to upskill on, but also you've got those that other social element as well,
Yeah.
how to talk to people, how to engage, the client experience, but also the things that people are going to be coming through your door, carrying on their shoulders. So the relationship that's gone horribly wrong, experiencing mental ill health. And yeah, there's all those different things that when people are in our safe space, and some of the things they tell us are just extraordinary. My jaw is always on my chest when I go to the hairdressers, because that's not it's not a locked room, is it? People are actually talking about their problems on the salon shop floor, and you're thinking, and often I tune in and I join in other people's conversations
Yeah.
because I'm thinking that was really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely agree. With regards to, this might be something that is covered in the course, but I'm not too sure because I've not yet had the chance to look at it. But is there anything you would recommend that any practitioner or therapist has within their clinic, like any like posters or leaflets or anything that could make that client feel like they can open up, or even just grab a leaflet if they don't want to talk?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, it's really great if you've got resources like that around, and there are local groups. So, you may have Women's Aid or a national group, then but there will be local domestic abuse support services who may have literature that you can actually have in your salons, in your treatment rooms, and that's really great. But we need to remember that not a lot of people will want to take something, because if that then gets found in their bag or on their person, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So there is a few things I have been thinking of as, I mean, I developed this program 4 years ago. And one of my aspirations has always been to actually start looking at product creation like lip balms and things like that, that actually have unique codes in them. So it could be the telephone number for a support agency, or something hidden within it. So the best thing that has really worked, bear in mind, I've had about over 2,000 emails in the first year that we launched the Behind the Mask. Over 100,000 people have done this training now to date in 4 years. But in the first year, 2,000 emails from people saying, I have taken what I've learned, put it into place, because I recognized the moment I did the training, I recognized it in several of my clients.
Yeah.
I had the conversation. I was then able to signpost them to services. Brilliant. So they started the conversation. Other people have come to me and said, because I had the certificate, so it says behind the mask, I've done this training, and they displayed it prominently within their salons and their treatment spaces. It then people started asking, well, what's that about then?
Yeah,
And then stories then came out then, and that's just
yeah,
incredible. But the other great place to have things like that is on the back of toilet doors. So you've got you've got those facilities in your salon, and there's lots of other things that you can get involved in as well. So with pharmacies, the government did a program about Ask for Annie. So you
oh
can,
yeah, I've heard of that.
yeah, I mean, you can bastardize that and use it for yourself. Put your own poster up and say, ask for something if you want to talk to us confidentially about domestic abuse,
Yeah,
because we'd love to help you. So yeah, there's lots of different things that you can do, but yeah, whether you have resources that is clearly domestic abuse related that they can take away. For many people, it may not be what they physically want, but if you've got something there that sparks a conversation, that's
yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Mm,
100%. And I think
mm.
anyone who's watching, remember that, you might be listening to this and thinking like, I don't, all my clients seem pretty happy and like, can't really think of anyone who, like that lady did, where she could sort of think of different clients. Things can change. More clients will come through your door. As your business grows, you will start servicing more clients. So get this training done as soon as possible, because if it's not something that you're going to need for your current clients, obviously that's great, but future clients, new people are going to come in, and yeah, obviously things can change. So yeah, definitely get on the
Yeah,
training. It's just a
absolutely.
fantastic resource.
Yeah.
Just touching on what we were discussing previously, Julie, about the menopause, because again, that is another taboo topic. I don't know why, particularly that one, because it's something that every woman goes through. I don't know much about it myself. Do you want to just sort of give us some insight into the things that you've done regarding that area as well, and if any courses are coming up regarding that, regarding menopause as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Dare I say it? I went through most of my life thinking I don't need to worry about the menopause because that's something that happens to older people. And I put it off, put it off, put it off, thinking I don't need to know about that until the point where I thought, oh, I do need to know about this.
Yeah.
So literally, as I was saying earlier, a menopause is a day in your life, and you don't get told about it.
No,
So it's
I
not
only
talked
learned this
about.
today, guys.
Yeah,
Menopause is one day of your life.
it is. Just like starting your periods is that day in your life, but they taught you a little bit about that at school.
Yeah.
But what they don't tell you is what happens at the end. And the end is far worse than the beginning for many, many, many women. So you can start experiencing menopause symptoms in perimenopause. So that's before you become menopausal. About 5 to 9 years beforehand. And you can
Oh,
go through
wild.
any one of or any multiple of 40 plus symptoms, which can be both physical and psychological, from brain fog to forgetting. So there are times where you just can't string a sentence together. I'll tell you what, it's worse than baby brain. You know that saying, after you've had a baby, your brain goes to mush. It's worse than that, right through to feeling anxiety and not being able to sleep, not being able to concentrate, having severe mood swings. And seriously, I mean, I thought I was the most kind of calm, grounded person. I needed that for the job I used to do, believe me.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, if somebody just did one little thing that would hack me off, all of a sudden I go from 0 to 60 in a second. And I thought, that's not me. And of course, the physical aspect as well. I mean, I used to be super, super fit in my early 40s, and I'm now 52. And all of a sudden, I just grew about 5 dress sizes. And I barely noticed. And all of a sudden, where I used to run for miles, if I walked fast, I was out of breath and all my joints ached. And yeah, goodness me, it was just absolutely hideous. And of course, the worst thing for me as well, the moment I hit 40, my periods were just constant, never stopped, and it
Really?
felt like I was hemorrhaging. And a lot of women do experience this. My mum did as well. And yeah, it was so, so bad that I was almost anemic. And I don't know how I put one foot in front of the other. It was
Wow.
crazy. And of course, if you imagine just how embarrassing that is,
Yeah.
in the workplace,
Yeah.
you may have fabric covered chairs. And of course, if you're sat down and you've only been to the bathroom to freshen up half an hour ago, within half an hour, it could be you need to get back there. And of course, if you're providing a treatment with somebody, it can then get embarrassing. So if there's salon owners listening to this and you have staff of a certain age, and bearing in mind, you can go through the menopause in your 20s, which
It's
is very,
right.
very
This
early.
is what I was thinking. Right, I'm nearly 29.
Mm.
Like I need to know this stuff. So Julie, can you please make a course about menopause so I can learn? Because any guys
Yeah.
any guys watching this, just think how lucky you are, okay? That you don't have to go through this.
But actually, it's important for guys too, because if you're younger, your mum's going to be going through this,
Yeah.
and it's really good to know that mum may not be having a great day today, and this is why your partner is going to go through this. And just saying, oh, for goodness sake, cheer up is the worst thing you can say to somebody,
Yeah.
because the whole thing about the menopause is your periods stop because your hormones are depleting. And you've got to say, we're very lucky in this day and age that we're living long enough to experience this. But over the years, we haven't lived long enough to experience it, to know more about it. And it's very interesting that GPs in the UK are not routinely taught about the menopause.
No.
So so the actual menopause specialists out there are few and far between, which is why a really great menopause specialist out there, and I'm going to recommend this person. And for any reading, you go to this person because it's all evidence based, and they train doctors who really do want to upskill around the menopause. So she's called Dr. Louise Newson.
Right.
And you often see her on Good Morning Britain and other programs because she tries to get as proactive as possible in passing out the message. But she has a great website called themenopausedoctor.co.uk, and there's loads and loads of free resources on there,
Okay.
which really debunk lots of awful myths. I mean, 20 years ago in the States, they produced a document saying, if you take hormone replacement therapy, HRT, it's linked to an increase in breast cancer. It was a completely flawed study, but so many people are holding on to the legacy of that they're no longer looking for hormone replacement therapy. And the study that this doctor did showed that over three-quarters of women who went to their GPs asking for help, they should have been offered hormone replacement therapy, but were given antidepressants.
I've heard
And that
that
it,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's not dealing with your lower hormone.
No.
So your body needs your estrogen, your progesterone, and actually women need testosterone,
Yeah.
not to the extent that men do, but testosterone is not just about your libido, it's all about your mood and your concentration. And
Yeah.
when you're trying to work, that's so important. And 80% of women will experience menopause symptoms. So any one of those 40 odd symptoms, and 25% of those 80% will have so severe, a bit like I did. I needed a hysterectomy 5 years ago because I was just constantly flooding, and then I had to have a oophorectomy, so I had my ovaries removed a couple of years ago because I was getting cysts and all sorts. So the joys of being female, you've got
I
all that.
know, honestly.
But yeah, so I had a surgical menopause because that was it, no more periods. But the actual menopause itself is from the date of your last period, you have gone exactly a year. It's been a
How do
full
you know
year.
it's your last period?
Yeah, well, you know what? If you keep a period tracker and you
Yeah.
realize, well, actually, I came on that date, then if you have no more periods over the duration of the year to the following year, that one day where it's been a year since your last period, that's the menopause.
Oh my
All the
God.
symptoms you had leading up to that is perimenopause.
How
And after you've got over that day of your menopause, you're postmenopausal. But once you're postmenopausal, you may still experience symptoms like the night sweats and the mood swings and the hot flushes and things like that.
so
But
basically your menopause day is the day to celebrate. Like this is over now.
yes,
Thank God.
yeah, and actually, you know what? The menopause isn't an illness, it's literally a transition in our lives. And I always look at it as a celebration of the fact that we're living long enough now to enjoy this.
Yeah.
And I celebrate the fact I've got freedom because every time I went on holiday, it was always like, it's my time of the month. Oh, joy. I'm going to be back and forth to the loo,
Yeah.
and you're always worried, aren't you, when you're in your swimsuit and stuff
Oh
like
God.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah, for the last 4.5 years, I've had brilliant holidays. It's like, yeah,
You know
freedom.
what? Women are incredible. I'm just gonna say that. Women are literally incredible. The things that we go through, and science with our bodies and all of that. Like, it's crazy.
Mm.
So Julie, I know there's no kind of menopause course out as of yet. However, if you do bring one out, please let me know so I can send it to everyone.
I will, but literally, people check out Dr. Louise Newson's website,
I'm going to have a look at her
themenopausedoctor.co.uk.
after this.
Fantastic resources on there that are very simple to understand, easy to read, and they are literally evidence-based resources. There's so much other misinformation out there. Even your doctor doesn't really know about the menopause. So yeah, and there's even symptom trackers and stuff like that, because quite often when you go and see the doctor, you forget about all the things you want to talk about. So it's better off writing it down and using their resources. So start that conversation with the GP. So yeah, use and abuse those resources, because it's all about raising awareness.
Absolutely. So in a
Mm.
clinic setting or a salon setting, similar to kind of what we've talked about with domestic abuse, are there any ways you would recommend that the practitioner or the therapist kind of supports that client? Because I know that particularly if you've been working with the same client for years and years and years, obviously they do have a dip in mood or they are experiencing some symptoms. It's, you don't really want to say, are you going through the menopause, do you? Like, that's, it's not a very nice thing to say. But what would you recommend, like, trying to support them with that if you think they might be?
Yeah, totally. You know what? I'm smiling there because 75% of women who are perimenopausal, so that sort of 5 to 9 years before their periods stop, they don't know. 75% of them don't know they're going through the menopause. So they may be having symptoms, a bit like me. For 6 years, I was having all these symptoms. And it's only when I sat down with a colleague who was the menopause lead for my constabulary at the time, who said, I'm having such a bad day today. I've got brain fog. I can't string a sentence together. And then when she started saying, I've also got this, I thought, so have I. And that's when I realized I think I'm menopausal. Um, yeah, so a lot of people don't know. But if you've got people coming into your salons and they're really hot, some of our environments can make it even hotter and more uncomfortable for them.
Yeah,
So I'm always thinking about client comfort, client well-being, and not trying to embarrass somebody. And quite often, you do have that relationship where they do tell you anything. And I have said to a few clients, "Oh, right, okay, so you're getting a lot of these hot sweats. Have you looked into?" Because I experienced that when I was going through the menopause. So I've literally signposted them to this website and said, just look on there and find out for yourself. So they've thanked me for raising their awareness and sending them to a really great tried and tested resource
yeah,
from somebody who knows what they're talking about. Because let's face it, there's so much nonsense out there and misinformation, and it's that stuff that keeps circulating on some of the forums that I'm on. And it's so sad because a lot of people are not getting access to great healthcare to
yeah.
help them be the best that they can be.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a transition in a woman's life. Like, this is something that is such a massive part of life and no one knows about, no one talks about it. There's not enough information. And like I was mentioning before, there's a lot of people within this industry who are male practitioners. So I think if I don't know all of this, what are the chances of like men having this knowledge? And obviously, men can be quite awkward about periods and that kind of thing because they don't have them themselves. So I think for this information and everything you're helping us with here will help not only practitioners in general, but I think particularly male clients who maybe just don't
Mm.
even really think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's the other thinking there as well. If anybody on here is a salon owner, you've got that duty of care to your staff and your
Yes,
employees,
that,
and you really do need to be thinking about reasonable adjustments to help somebody perform in the workplace, because sleep deprivation is huge. And certainly within policing, we came up with a well-being passport where we said, you know what, if you're really struggling because you've had no sleep that night, then you can come in later. So that's a little bit hard when you've got bookings and things like that. But you know what? Rather than somebody call in sick that day because they feel they can't work, it's probably better that they have some rest and come in a little bit later in the day, because then you get a service from them rather than absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And also thinking about the equipment that you supply as well. Because, like I said, all the chairs in work are all cloth. And you're thinking, heaven forbid, because one of the major symptoms is heavy, heavy bleeding.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, that's embarrassing. So if they're wipe down chairs, even better
Yeah.
for all your services. I know a lot of salons have that, obviously, for health and safety and clinical cleanliness and stuff like that. But I've been into places that don't. And also thinking about uniform, if they can wear a lighter version of a uniform and have extra time for breaks so they can get access to cold water to cool down,
Yeah.
fans. We've got to remember that there are pockets, thermal pockets within buildings. Some places are hotter than others. So just thinking about somebody's workspace, and not only that, thinking about that for your client as well, will make a
Yeah.
huge difference if you are literally menopause friendly, menopause conscious. It's just another string to your bow, isn't it, in terms of that client
Exactly.
experience?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just having that awareness, similar to the domestic abuse topic as well. Just being aware, and when you know what to look out for, or certain buzzwords, or you know, body language, even, it's just going to make you a better all-rounded practitioner, isn't it? Because
yeah,
you know, you guys are all amazing doing treatments, but as we all know, it's so much more than doing the treatment, isn't it? You're a
mm,
therapist, you're an accountant, you're a social media manager, you're
yeah,
everything under the sun. And building client relationships and supporting your clients is just gonna make their experience better, and also make them come back and recommend you and everything as well. So
yeah,
um,
totally. Yeah. And it's about knowing your purpose as well. I mean, everybody thinks that, oh, yeah, Julie's a lash artist. She sells eyelash extension treatments. No, I don't. I'm selling a feeling. I'm selling when clients look in the mirror at the end of it and they grab me and give me a big kiss. That's that feeling they want, that
oh,
well-being. Yeah, that's that, and that is amazing.
oh
And
my God,
that's
I love
everything
that
about.
quote, Julie. That's so nice. Not selling a
I'm
treatment,
not.
but selling a feeling,
Yeah, yeah, you're selling a feeling. Yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah. People want my eyelashes because they want to feel a certain way.
Yeah,
Yeah, and once you understand, I mean, anybody who knows marketing will understand that concept.
yeah.
Yeah, because then that's how you pitch, how you market yourself.
So thank you so
Okay.
much for coming on. Honestly, I've learned so much in this call, and I'm sure everyone else will have as well. I will put all of the links to Julie's courses and her social media. If you've got any questions about the courses, feel free to message her or myself, and get the course done and spread awareness, guys. Speak to your clients, put things within clinic which might help. Just keep supporting your clients and supporting each other. But yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so much, Julie. I've absolutely
you're
loved it.
very welcome. Thank you, Holly.
All
Take
right,
care.
I'll speak to you
Bye
soon.
bye.
Bye.